most of you know me as a photographer and filmmaker and all of that. And, you know my brand as Art Boy. Now, my journey really began in Jamaica. When I came to the US, I kind of got a different perspective on what I wanted to do. And that all kind of came together eventually in college. But before I got to Art Boy, I was just another creative. I was just another artist that enjoyed art in its purest form. And then, eventually I decided that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Now, how did I get here? That's what we're going to get into. And I'm going to talk about the three artists that sort of impacted my whole journey. So, I've always wanted to be a artist of sorts, but I mainly wanted to be an architect to begin with. And I might still pursue that goal. When I was in Jamaica and coming up through high school, I actually was really into architectural drawing and engineering and mechanical drawing. And then on the other side of it, I used to do a lot of just, regular drawing, pen, ink. And then I did a little bit of painting, a little bit of leather carving. And then I came to America. That was a critical point in my narrative. Now, when I came to America, I sort of got a different experience and a different perspective on all of these things that I really like. And then I went to college, and then college became the transition period for me to rediscover the arts and what I really wanted to get into. Eventually, I got to a point where I was looking for representation of myself in art, because I wanted to find people that, sort of embodied what I wanted to do or wanted to become. I started my process of seeking out artists that, sort of represents and embodies what I would like to become in the future. And so the first person that I ever found was Tyler Perry. And Tyler Perry is an all around phenomenal guy. Tyler Perry overall inspired me, and he represented what I wanted to do in film. Not to mention, Tyler Perry isn't just like an artist in the traditional sense. Tyler Perry is actually a film director, producer, executive producer, studio exec. He has one of the biggest studios. And so when I saw all of that, I was like, man, like, this is amazing. Finally I can find, or finally I can see myself in that position. A lot of people talk about, gaining access and a seat at the table. But to me, I definitely genuinely believe that Tyler Perry is the perfect example of don't argue about someone else's table, but rather build your own table, and take a seat there. And then you could put other people, especially other black people and black artists, in positions of power so they could also tell their stories and tell, stories and narratives about black people and black culture, and just all around, just, put your people in a position to succeed. And so that to me is very admirable when it comes to Tyler Perry. And that's why he became one of my favorite artists, per se, of all time, because I was like, he sort of represents the mindset, he represents the level I'm trying to get to, especially when it comes to film. Now, my second black artist that I came across that that really triggered or really make an impact on my journey was Jean Michel Basquiat. I was in, I want to say, my art history class in school. And, the professor, I remember, he talked a lot about, all the classical arts and, the classical artists. And he talked about Keith Haring and he talked about Andy Warhol. But then he mentioned someone that was, he did it in a way where it was almost like this person was just in the footnote to these people, and these other artists and their impact. And that person was Jean-Michel Basquiat. And I found it interesting the way how he talked about Basquiat, because the biggest thing, and I'll never forget this statement, he said Jean-Michel Basquiat was famous for trying to be famous as an artist. And so that's the day that I decided that I wanted to become a history book artist, right? Or a historical artist. And what I mean by that is to go down in history as a prominent black artist, to be mentioned amongst the greats, Michelangelo, Leonardo, and Dan Angelo. And it sounds just about appropriate, right? And so, I mean, even I have a thing where I'm like, yo, I love my name because my name speaks to exactly who I'm going to become, and it falls right in line with those other artists. Basquiat sort of represented, a style of art that I wanted to get into. He represented this mystery. He represented this sort of rebel. He didn't start out as, a neo-expressionist artist. He actually started out as a graffiti artist, and him and his friend actually went under the name of Samo, and they would just do the graffitis. I just love this guy's demeanor. Right now, I'm wearing a Basquiat shirt that I created, or a hoodie that I created. And, I don't change my hoodie. I always wear the same black hoodie. But it's Black History Month, and, I had to represent for my guy. Basquiat, like I said, he is one of the biggest influences on my work right now. Basquiat has and is a cultural icon. You see this, primitive style of paintings that he does and artworks that he does, and some people argue that it's childlike. He sort of broke the rules, right? And a lot of people try to stick him in the footnotes of, the Andy Warhols of the world, but really and truly, I think that, I mean, I like his work better than Andy Warhol work, but some people will argue with me about that. Jean-Michel Basquiat is definitely one of the artists that changed the trajectory of who I am as an artist. Now, additionally, after discovering Jean-Michel Basquiat and also discovering Tyler Perry and what they were all about, that's when I started to fuse my art and my films, right? That's when I said and make a choice about the first art film. Essentially, the art films is basically films, documentary style films that I use to examine artists, their artwork, and their process. This year, I'm working with a phenomenal artist. I started last year, so this year I will be releasing a film. Shout out to Ebony Thompson. He's on display right now at Adelphi University. So if you want to go check out his work, The Art and Soul of a Man, definitely go and do that. The next person that I discovered was through a friend, Nwanda.net. Shout out to that guy. He's doing amazing things. But he introduced me to the next artist, which is Virgil Abloh. Virgil Abloh, if you haven't, if you don't know of who he is, I think that Virgil Abloh definitely should go down in art history, period. Virgil Abloh is a DJ. He is skateboarder of some sorts. He is a film director. He music video director. He's an architect. He's a designer. Louis Vuitton, Nike, Off-White, like you name it. This guy have done so many great things. Essentially, his whole lifestyle and what he represents and what he is to me is a art savant. He was the first person that I saw that did it all in terms of what I was trying to do. Now, Virgil changed my life, and if he never and if he's not in history books yet, he definitely should go down in history books. And so that is it for the three biggest artists that sort of inspired me and changed my life and were pivotal to the process of me becoming art boy. Now, after all that talk about black artists, obviously it's Black History Month. So shout out to all the black artists out there that's doing their thing and hustling and grinding and going at it still. I hope a lot of us end up in the history books. I hope we get to change the narrative of, Black people in the arts and in history. I hope some of our names get to be mentioned among the greats, the Michelangelos, the Leonardos, the Basquiats, the Virgils, the Tyler Perrys. And last but not least, I released a film and it's called Red Roses. So go and check out that film. I'll probably put the link in my description as well. Comment, like, share, and like I always say, subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Thank you. I'm out. And that's the episode.